I want to thank everybody for coming today. Like I said, my name's Stash Grzinski. I'm the political director with the Wisconsin League of Conservation Voters. We're a Wisconsin-based nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to electing conservation leaders, holding decision makers accountable for their actions in the environment, and encouraging lawmakers across the state of Wisconsin to champion conservation policies. And that's why we're here today. Wisconsin League of Conservation Voters has endorsed David Gorski for Assembly District 72. And we wanted to make sure that there was no doubt in people's minds about where we stand in this race. Even though Wisconsin League of Conservation Voters made this endorsement over a month ago, I think it was August 17th, to be exact, American Federation for Children, an out-of-state special interest group, is running a radio spot with our organization's name that's misleading and deceitful. This is the same pro-school voucher group that spent nearly $1 million to fend off the recall of Governor Scott Walker, and they don't care about conservation issues or our values here in the 72nd, and people should not be fooled by that ad. Over the past 2 years, Scott Krug has not been able to get the job done in Madison for the voters of this district. Krug has left his work unfinished when it comes to the biggest environmental issues facing the citizens of the 72nd, and that's why he did not receive the endorsement of our organization this cycle. Lakes, streams, and aquifers in central Wisconsin continue to dry up due to the overpumping of groundwater in this area. As groundwater is depleted, drinking water becomes even more vulnerable to contamination in the aquifer. Over the last session, nearly 13,000 actions were taken by conservation voters all across the state of Wisconsin on the groundwater issue. That's calls to their legislators, that's letters written to legislators, it's lobby days in Madison, and sitting down with your legislator at the local coffee shop. More than 13,000 actions, many done by folks that are here today, and I wanted to give you a round of applause for those actions over the last year. So thank you. But it's not enough, and that's why we've endorsed in this race. Krug and lawmakers in Madison were unable to get the job done. Scott Krug promised to make solving the water crisis in this part of the state a top priority, but he did not deliver. That's why we endorsed David Gorski, because Representative Krug failed to live up to the promises that he made for this district 2 years ago. David Gorski has a history of integrity, hard work, and honesty. That's why we know he's going to be the guy in the 72nd that can help us solve this major issue for the environment. Dave is a lifelong Wisconsin resident that understands our natural resources and what it means to our communities and our way of life. He's a conservationist and a retired counselor for the Nakusa school system, and has been invested in our community's health for decades in this area. He's not going to be afraid to stand up and fight for clean water and our natural resources in Madison. And that's why we need to send him to Madison on November 8th. Even the dogs agree. So, like I said, Wisconsin League of Conservation Voters are proud to endorse David Gorski for the Assembly District 72, and I'd like to have him come up here and say a few words. Thank you.
Wow, thanks. Hey, help me out with this, okay? Government for the people.
By the people.
Government for the people. By the people. That's right. There's a lot of people here. There's a lot of people that don't want a CAFO in their neighborhood. It is not government for the people by factory farms. Something has gone wrong, and it needs to change. That's why I'm running. As the Wisconsin League of Conservation Voters advocates for the conservation of our air, land, water, and wildlife, so do I. We live on this planet together. We all need to be good stewards of it. Greed should not trump our responsibility to conserve what sustains us all. And here's an important point to consider. Not too long ago, I was at the Factory Farm Summit, and they brought this point up. And it's important. Wisconsin is the epicenter of the world's greatest concentration of clean, fresh water. And as plentiful as this water is, it can be poisoned with bacteria, with viruses, with carcinogens and other chemicals. We must think and plan ahead to protect our land and water for future generations. We can't drink money. Let's learn a lesson from Wisconsin's native people and plan our land and water use with 7 generations in mind. Right on! I am honored that the League of Conservation Voters has chosen to endorse me. Say it with me. Water's life.
Water's life.
Right on.
Well, thank you so much for coming out and supporting Dave. These next few days are critical as this election moves forward. We only have a small amount of time here. I mean, November 8th will be here in a blink. So thank you for coming out. Support Dave, support the work he's doing. If you're interested in more of the work that the Wisconsin League of Conservation Voters is doing all over the state, please follow us online. Please follow us on our social media. We're at conservationvoters.org. And thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you coming out today. Thank you.